Hi, this is Ayaz from Braveheart YouTube channel. When you get an infection, your body will often get to work generating extra heat, which we know as a fever, to help you fight the pathogen. Which seems logical. After all, we also heat raw food, questionable water, and used surgical equipment to literally sizzle pathogens to death. But that's not how a fever works. I mean, even the puniest strategies for killing germs with heat require temperatures of around 65 degrees Celsius, yet most fevers top out at 40 degrees or so. Any temperature that's hot enough to decimate an invasion of viruses or bacteria would also decimate your own cells. A few extra degrees can slow down the replication of certain pathogens, but the bigger effect of a fever is how it benefits our own bodies. When your body temperature rises, neutrophils, white blood cells that lurk in your bone marrow, wake up and start gobbling germs, and other germ gobblers get better at identifying and engulfing pathogens when your temp is higher. Then there are T cells, which travel to lymph nodes to identify the pathogen, but they have to get there quickly before the germ overwhelms your body. When your body heats up, T cells get there way faster and can coordinate an effective response in time. But why does heat, and not even that much heat, have all these effects? The answer, paradoxically, may have to do with the dangers of too much heat. If you're, say, jogging in the summer and you start to overheat, delicate components inside you can start breaking down. So as your temperature rises, your body jumps into action to protect itself. For instance, cells churn out tons of heat shock proteins, which find molecules that are unraveling and bind to them, either to stabilize or re-ravel them. When you get an infection, a fever may work, at least in part, by actively increasing your body temperature in order to trigger this same kind of protective process. Your body churns out those same heat shock proteins, which are so good at finding and binding to all sorts of molecules. They bind to the tails of T cells, and then bind several T cells' tails together, helping the cells clump up, grab blood vessel walls, and make the trek to the lymph nodes, where they ID the invader and coordinate a response. Heat shock proteins can also recognize and bind to specific bits of pathogens, sometimes to the heat shock proteins the pathogens themselves have churned out, then transport them to waiting germ gobblers. Our ancestors first co-opted these existing protective mechanisms to help fend off infections as long as 600 million years ago, and animals have been turning up the heat on pathogens ever since. Even critters that can't regulate their body temperature internally will bask, buoy, or buzz until they're toasty and infection-free. And no matter what species you are, the strategy works. Infected individuals that boost their temps recover more quickly and more often than those that don't. We think it is normal to have magic pills, but relatively harmless, over-the-counter pain medication like aspirin or ibuprofen only became cheap and widely available in the last century or so. Going to a pharmacy to get something for your headache is extremely new in human history. Pain feels bad, so we've gotten used to stopping it when we feel it. If you are sick, you're supposed to feel a reasonable amount of pain, so you lie down and save energy. This is not a bug, but a feature of your immune system. But pain and fever are closely connected, and over-the-counter pain medication like ibuprofen and paracetamol also work against fever. Especially in children, fever is often suppressed by worried parents or doctors, sometimes because they think fever itself is the disease, or they are worried that it can do long-term harm. In general, it's fair to say that for temperatures below 40 degrees C or 104 degrees Celsius, fever is not dangerous and doesn't need to be treated. Of course, there are also patients that should not have fever, like pregnant women, seniors, and seriously weakened patients. For them, the extra stress may be dangerous. Fever over 40 degrees Celsius is dangerous to anybody because it's most likely caused by your internal heat monitor failing. Things get more complicated in serious disease territory. We also have evidence that for some diseases like influenza or chickenpox, anti-fever drugs do not help you to heal faster. But we are also running into ethics problems here that make clinical trials difficult. In one study, doctors gave strong anti-fever treatment to critical care patients, but had to stop after mortality shot up. Overall, we have strong indications that more people may survive serious infectious diseases better with a fever. And there is very little clinical evidence that stopping fever leads to better health outcomes. But there are important exceptions, like neurological injuries and stroke. We definitely need a lot more research. So should you fight fever? Well, speak to your doctor and don't listen to internet videos. But this decision is really about payoffs. If a fever is not dangerously high and you can bear it, you are supporting your defenses and may even get healthy a bit faster. But if you feel really bad and are healthy in general, taking a pill against pain and fever will make you feel better quicker, at the cost of a slightly less effective immune defense. However you decide, the next time you are burning up and feeling bad, you can rest easy in the knowledge that your enemies are having a much worse time than you.